Know why most people in the world played Lord Jesus Christ. It doesn't make any sense. When somebody lives a life and at his last supper with his family gives you perfect commands to live the freedom of your own delusions of your own power and authority through invention, how can you say you love him, and why do you talk to him every day? You know, why do you talk to him? Why do you, every time you do something for a major sporting event, sit there and do all this stuff and look up at the satellites as if, to make sure that the Rockefeller Foundation knows that you believe in their bastardization of God for money? Like Rockefeller told me, they'll gladly kill over me and my grandpa's money and watch you and your Jesus die, Parsons, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. These tax-free organizations, they make money off of the exploitation and abuse and compromising of animals and children, right? And then people get in these jobs thinking, they're doing really good things. Their job serves a purpose and makes the world a better place. It's like, you still get money for this, and they still need money for existence. It's not Solomon's share, care, given accordance to need, built to last. Okay. How are you making the world a better place for the beast and the children? I know. If you could sing like Karen Carpenter and play a piano and sing a sad song about it for a soap opera, you'd be set for life, huh? Especially if people keep using that as Nadia's theme, and I'm just kidding around. Fed up. I'm really tired, man. These people suck. I sat there and watched the news looking for the weather, right? And they had this thing where these 4 teenage kids that got into a fight, and it turned out into a gunfight at Young Park because of bullying and fighting and feeling scared and buying a gun. Because this is Las Cruces, and when I was a kid, it was like "Viva la familia." We always, if you fought with a knife, you were a sissy. If you were fought with a gun, you were a total pussy. And now it's like, no, if you don't have the balls to pull the trigger, you're not man enough to take care of your family, man. Like that guy in the fucking parking lot. Family's everything. That's bullshit. Really, John Gotti? Fuck you. Okay. Tell Montezuma I said piss off. Family's everything? Oh, and the Hitler clan, and the Caiaphas and Harris clan, and the Pharaoh and the Ramesses, the dickest of the biggest dickest clan, and the Caligula clan, and the Octavian clan. Family's everything. If your family sucks and they're mass murderers, okay, everything sucks. Right? Bump, 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 bump. I sat and watched McGarrett, right? And the cute little Hawaiian girl was trying to set up this poor, overweight, homely kid that was Pernell Roberts' family member with this jerky guy who ripped people off and hurt people. And she's a really pretty Hawaiian girl, right? And then I watched the next one with the really pretty Hawaiian girl who I've seen lots of shows and had a crush on when I was younger. And she got mad because her mom was having an affair with a part Hawaiian man, and her dad was like a landed aristocracy owner who married the hottest Hawaiian woman. And she saw they were cheating, and she grabbed a gun because she has a lot of that family lineage thing, to be in control, have money and power. She steps out of the dressing room in the guest room where they have an affair, and she shoots them both. Right? She's like 9 or 10 years old. That's horrid. I know. And they show all the gory details, just like all these court cases and everything. They tell all the gory details. No Lord's Prayer, all the gory details. Like that young child with all his tattoos telling prison stories of how they do, behind the bars justice. Behind the bars justice. Yeah, if you're a child molester, they rape you. Life being eternal, grace being infinite. Wow, how do you think that affects that? Okay. If you kill children and sexually molest, they kill you. Okay. Life being eternal and grace being infinite. How do you think relativity affects that, Albert Einstein? We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. So there's absolutely no rehabilitation. Okay. You ever seen that movie where the white lady plays the Mayan woman, and you think, really, you couldn't get Marion Cologne to play this part? With Nardo from West Side Story, and Isidra is Black Eagle. All right. And Black Eagle, he's a good guy. He's going to let me free. He had the most beautiful woman in the whole thing come and nurse me back to health. So he could go talk to the gods and they could blood sacrifice him and stuff, right? And you're like, shit, these motherfuckers are crazy. Yes, they are. Okay. And that's the only way to rehabilitate somebody, is make them feel the love of God, that you're talking to people that have faith in God. Okay. That's the only rehabilitate a barbarian that fights and kills over what they need because everybody else wants to. And then they become assimilated into that type of culture. Right. So the only way to rehabilitate them is make them love you, Patrick, Dad, I'm dead. Love you back to life, right? It's the only way. Forgive them 7 times upon infinity. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love thy enemy, okay? When you incarcerate, you dictate and you legislate. You have no justice because you're not living the freedom of the Lord's Prayer, and you're not sustaining it with the faith of Psalms and the eternal wisdom of Proverbs, right? You're hell on earth. You're hell on wheels, right? And so every time you engage in propaganda that takes open these scabs and then it's crime stories, it's 2020, it's Dateline. And I told you, when you watch Dateline and David Muir and the little brown girl, they'd be smiling, talking about how, okay, she was killed and her kids were raised in foster care and dad killed himself in prison. But thanks for watching this story. We'll see you next week. And you're like sitting there watching going, okay, Jimmy Carter campaign smiles, you people are sick as fuck, right? And they don't even see it. They don't even see it. You can explain it to them. You really are a sick person. You're an egomaniac like Taro Suzuki, who wants everything to go his way. Okay, and nothing like Hirohito, the man that asked the Americans to drop the atomic weapons on all of his political enemies so he could take better control of Japan once he did it with their written forms of governmentation. Right. How General MacArthur, if you want a corncob pipe, an asshole, because I am what I am, and I am what I am, and I am, and it's all that I am, right? God, you guys are horrible. You're pathetic. Justice, right? You get that little asshole on TV today. He's in my hometown. He should know who the fuck I am. He's a public servant person, supposed to keep people safe with the law, right? And he's sitting there telling, the families said that they're happy with what happened. They got justice. Okay, they're happy that young men got murdered and other young men had to murder them because they were afraid of those other young men, right? You know why they're happy? Because they're going to sue the state, okay, for allowing them to get together and have an unauthorized car show and hold the city and the state responsible through the civil courts. That's why they're happy. Because they got a good ruling in the court case for civil lawsuits. And money ain't real. They're stimulating the local economy. Just stroll around the grounds until you stay at home. Same thing Jesus told me every time I see that stuff on TV. Like the kid crying, getting $8 million from the city of El Paso because he was running off the wrong cloud, spent 18 years getting abused in prison. Now he gets out, and he's going to be a really good citizen stimulating the economy in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. And then he's going to go to Pahrump, get the girlfriend experience. I was locked up for 18 years. They sodomized me because I killed people in their family. And you just be like, yeah, now you got $8 million and you can have sex with women that would never have given you the time of day, but a mean cheerleader who looked at you and said, no, I'm going out with the guy who's going to ASU to play quarterback. Come on now, baby. Come on now. You say it ain't so. Say it ain't so, Joe. Come on, Soulish Joe Jackson. Come on. Cubs, socks. Say it ain't so, Joe. Got no shoes, huh? Got no shoes. All right. So you deal with these people. And then they're cocky enough to be running around in my hometown, post-apocalypse, after Earl did everything that was necessary to apply the physics of the true understanding of the Gospels by January 22nd, 2013. And they were still trying to use manipulation of linguistics to keep people doing what they're doing today and have Rockefeller and Rothschild collect all the evidence and put it on quantum computing for all the X-Men 97 to watch past, present, future at the same time. The past, present, future? Yeah. Because with quantum computing, like on old Minority Report with old dipshit, Tammy Cruise. I'm in an airplane. I'm a sexy girl. Aren't you? You think I'm a nasty girl? Tonight, living in That man was part of the Search of Scientology. If you know what happened to my family in Santa Fe, Okay? I can say anything I want about Tammy Cruz. Okay? All the right moves. You bitch. Dave Miscavige's Blue Chew. It's true. So because I know. But I thought I could get the Smiths and the JP. No, you can't get people out of there. When they think they're right and you're wrong, and they're good and you're bad, and truth is gray, right? It's not the colors of the light of day. They decide what's right and what is an illusion. Yeah, when red is blue, red is black and yellow, white. Right? They're assholes. But trust me, you don't think they are. You think they're going to be your best friend. You think you're going to hang out at barbecues and have good old times. Keep citrus away from my genitalia. Thank you. I love you too. But you like, the most gorgeous genitalia in the history of any of their money making, and they made movies with Sally Richardson. She's pretty. Yeah. If we'd both met in another place or time, yeah, she probably would have said, "Oh my gosh, that's the most beautiful, gorgeous man in the history of Wyoming, and Washington, yeah, and Arizona, yes, and New Mexico, yes, Texas, yes, North Carolina, yes, California, lived there too. Okay, where else did you live, Earl? We did Texas. We did. Yeah, that's about it, right? I think so. I spent about 2.5 weeks in Oklahoma, not Arizona. What does it matter? But yeah, picking up my son from Tulsa Region Medical Center. So if you could call that living, but this ain't living. No, baby, this ain't living. No. Money, you fake it. Lord's Prayer, I'll make it. Save the children of the Lord, for you're faking it. Okay, you call it love, but you faking it, right? Me, I know what love is. I don't need to explain it to Lou Graham. He should have known by now. Jesus, forgive debt and trespass, love on eternal, faithful peace, right? Because life's eternal, grace is infinite. Oh wow, share care, given according to need, built to last, right? Lots of faith of Psalms, the wisdom of Proverbs, and the deliverance of evil. So you don't have to sing songs about, I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. He already showed you. You're one. Boy, that Catholic Church sure does suck at instruction. Boy, reading comprehension at all-time low. They talk shit about us people in New Mexico and Mississippi. The Derek guy was kind of getting the other guy, the asshole, So you said you should have pulled out the card and said, how much for the whole lot? He'd have changed his tune immediately. As soon as you went, ching, ching, money, it's a get. And I was like, God, what an asshole. Yeah, I was mad for like 2 days at that asshole because of that. And then thinking the other kid took time to listen. Why, he has to work with that guy? Oh, he's in the family. It's a relative thing. Oh, money, yeah. Albert Einstein, explain it to him. Roll over and tell Feynman the news. What about Asimov and Orwell? If they can talk Crichton into taking 5 minutes to be, humble instead of, act like he's humble. No, Crichton, I thought that when I saw him on his talk show and he talked about the women and he had like 5 wives and it had nothing to do with him, basically saying that he probably screwed up all of his marriages. It's like, well, it's about time you admitted it. Nah, I don't think it really admitted it. It's just when you're an egomaniac and you marry a woman that is in the company of egomaniacs, your relationship is just a business proposition and not a holy covenant. And so just because you can admit that your business propositions fell through because he doesn't admit business sucks, he's not a very intelligent person. He seemed charming. Yeah, Mom really liked him. Now that I look back at him, I can't endorse his park. Can you? And so, and if any of you are getting rich off of his imagination because he's got an ego problem, you might have the same ego problem. Why might check yourself before you wreck yourself? Okay. Look, Steve Largen's wide open in the corner of the end zone. Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. Where did Zorn go to school? It was a little school. Jim, when Jim showed up, Jim Zorn, had been born again and was saved, right? And he showed up at the and even I kind of agreed with Coach Fine, who I didn't like and was a complete asshole. He goes, he's a really good quarterback, but he's a horrible fundraiser speaker. It's like, well, yeah, all he could talk about was Jesus Christ. I liked Jim Zorn. I thought he was a good quarterback. And then when we met him, we found out he's an even more decent person. He was a lot like my brother-in-law, Jerry. Jim Zorn, an old lefty, kind of remind. Yeah, he did remind you a lot of, and his coach was a coach for the for a long time with the Minnesota Vikings. So yeah, it only made sense that he liked Zorn and ran. Sam McCollum was McCollum from the Vikings too. I think McCollum was fast. McCollum was what main reasons why Largent could get open so much. Because everybody was double and triple teaming McCollum because he was one of the fastest guys in the league. Sam McCollum didn't catch much. Well, it's hard to catch when you have two or three guys trying to stop you. But you have single coverage on the little slow guy who's real sneaky from Tulsa, and he made catches. He made it again. We'd always like, damn, he made it again. Well, of course, it's easy to lose somebody through single coverage, especially back then when you didn't have instant replay and a camera up everything. You could run picks through the tight end and stuff. Yeah, and so and Jim would always look for Largent because he knew they were gonna. It was just bait and switch. Okay, here's the bait. We're gonna go deep with McCollum, or we're gonna run Smith and what was the other guy's name? He was from Georgia Tech. Big guy. David Sims. That was it. David Sims. They were both. It was back in the steroid era with Chuck Muncie and all that and everything. Those guys with all the 46-inch thighs and stuff. They had thighs bigger than your body, and I remember that. That guy's thighs are 42 inches round. My waist is 28, and good God, Mom, that man's thigh is as big as my whole body. I used to sit and watch when I was a junior, skinny old basketball player playing res ball up in Colville. They would talk about that with Sherman Smith and David Sims. Their thighs were like Tony Galbraith's and Chuck Muncie's. And then you wonder, are those guys still alive? They're probably dead. You probably had to take certain performance-enhancing drugs and methadone and Mdune and bubadone shots and cortisone shots and stuff. I'm certain, to pay everybody's bills, you got a house in the. I'm certain that's why he had a stroke and died at 71. My Gus is dead. My Gus is dead because of all the things that the teams and the trainers would do to keep the customer satisfied. I'm certain that's why. And when you put those kind of drugs in, you take other drugs to try to make all that go away and make yourself tolerable to your family because that stuff fucks with your head. Steroids and cortisone and all. Yeah, it makes you horrible. It makes you do horrible and stupid things because your brain's not working right. That's why Chuck was always getting a hamburger instead of going and telling chicks their tits are too small at the bar instead of sitting at home watching Disney movies with his adorable little cute daughter. Oh, she's so cute. She looks a lot like Charles. Yeah, and Charles has a round face, full lips, and a little button nose and a big pair of brown eyes. Okay, and that's what Charles's daughter with white lady looks like. Right? She's cute. She's so cute. She's so pretty. Got that little round face. So my first wife told me that I look like Charles Barkley. No, you look like Charles Barkley's sister. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're a woman, girl. You'll be a woman soon. Soon you'll need a man. I've misunderstood for all my life, but saying girl cuts like a knife. Boy's no good. So I don't have to, I used to get mad. I'm still I'm mad. Okay. But this is me mad while correcting artificial general intelligence and helping quantum computing work better. Before I'd really go, I'd let these assholes downtown have it, at that damn court building where, the court's got $200 for incarcerating me for being the guy that was the main cause of stopping most human trafficking in the borderland area so they could feel like they're better people. It's harder and harder to run the brothels now because of political, because of all the people, going around with all the kids being content creators saying, here's what's happening in TJ, man, right across the border from where, Jeff Bezos is a multi-billionaire, man. Yeah. So you're going to blame Jeff Bezos for trying to get stuff to the poor people in a more affordable way, in a more affordable fashion that has, ways to get it to them because they can't get it to themselves. Right? You're going to blame Jeff Bezos for trying to be a good humanitarian in this hell because he can't do nothing about it because of all the perverts that are trying to mind fuck Parsons into oblivion. Right. You're going to blame my boy Jeff for you acting an ass and showing everybody your ass for money. All right. I love you too, Lauren. Stop crying, Lauren. You're acting like Jennifer Lopez, Lauren. Is that a compliment? You think so? Okay. She has a big heart. She hates seeing children. I hate seeing children being trafficked too. And her and Antonio did make that movie. It went right about the same time that Mark broke it down to me, because I was too busy trying to keep my wife from being fucked by all the dick measuring contest assholes at Fort Huachuca, and stop it and try to help it, not as radically affect, all the beautiful kids in my house and the beautiful kids in the whole Cochise County. Because, what we do to one affects another, especially with a virtual presence of people that are horrible human beings. They will put visions in your brain that are horrible, because they have surveillance of men that buy digital cameras, roofie their own daughters, and have sex with it and video record it and masturbate to it later. Okay. And they don't do anything about it because it's not in the interest of national security. Okay. That's Fort Huachuca in a nutshell. And then I'm the gracious good shepherd who's the Ark of the Covenant. And I had to sit there living in the center of it, seeing all these visions and going, I want to go down to Mexico and have myself castrated. And then I told myself, I can't do that. Why? Well, because how am I going to tell Patrick and Noah to, you control it or it controls you? It's a holy covenant. Protect the woman. Don't let your anger and possession and selfishness get the best of you, even if she's screwing half the fort. Don't kill her. Don't go, Joe from Carmen Jones, or the guy, whoever's supposed to be Joe's character from Carmen. Okay. Just go roll some cigars on your thigh and sell them, so you can sell them to all the dumbasses who have eternal wretchedness for their kids to continue fucking in incarceration, instead of standing up for the liberation of immaculate conception, of understanding, okay, that when a woman's choice of how she's going to be married or how to give birth to a child is taken away from her by bureaucrats, that you stand for the beauty of that child, like Joseph did with his cousin Mary. She did not want to arrange marriage. She got pregnant by a Roman centurion. And all the hypocrites were going to kill her because she went against she broke their religious laws. And they were going to murder her and the unborn baby, because the baby was going to be a demon, because he wasn't the product of an arranged marriage by Caiaphas and Herod. And the Romans supported this because we had to honor their local laws and traditions in order to do commerce with them. But forgive, debt, and trespass, love one another, for peace, was the baby in that young lady's womb that was protected by her own cousin and taken to Alexandria, Egypt, and raised and protected there by people that were believers. And then when he turned 13, and he'd be put into the realm of manhood, and they would all try to assassinate him in Alexandria, the best move was take him to Nazareth, which is a penal colony. What's he gonna do in the penal colony? Better than trying to survive Alexandria is Alexandria's worst enemy. Whoa, that's deep. So you're saying only a Pewat judges the man by the group, and a group by the man. Have been taught to lesson not to walk alone. I was waiting for the good Samaritan, but waiting was hopeless. It was all in vain. The tribalism of insane, violent sex cults and oppression through bureaucracy, back again. Right? So you understand? The Ku Klux Klan, the Black Panther Party, there is no difference. The Nazis and the Patriots.com, there is no difference. Okay. Buy my stuff. It'll help you survive me. Inventing the conditions for you to have to buy my stuff. Okay. Forgive, debt, and trespass, love, honor, full peace. I'm the gracious good shepherd for a reason. Okay. And if the assholes at City Hall and down at the county courthouse and down at the, off Motel Boulevard, if they ain't figured that out, they ain't never gonna did. Ling Ling, how many Etch-a-Sketches did you make today, buddy? You funny. I know. If he hasn't figured out he's human by now, he's never gonna dead. Right? Stay away from those South Pole helps and those angry raccoons. All right, love you. If you can catch those angry raccoons, take them over St. Augustine's Pass and turn them loose to the people that are, keeping us safe with science and technology over at the White Sands. Here's your raccoon back. Here's your science project. Take care of it. They have the resources to do it. They have all these animal control guys running around in uniform and stuff. And hey, we are the heroes and the protectors of the animals. Yeah, they got long alligators and like these brats and bats and elephants. And sure as you're born, don't forget their unicorn. Porzingis or Wembanyama? Both. No, you can't have them both on the same team. So your salary won't be able to afford it. I'm just kidding around. It happened back in the day. Hakeem and Ralph, yeah, Twin Towers they called them. Yeah, I was like, wow, what are they trying to do? Just dominate the inside. It's like, And then what happened? Ralph went somewhere else, and then Hakeem they added in some athletes to, like they did. They went to the Houston formula, the Guy Lewis formula, and it worked. Not once, but twice. Once, twice, 3 times a mayday, go Houston Rockets. I still don't know why they don't have the red and yellow. Those are their best uniforms of all time, or the championship ones. Good color combination, red and yellow. Red and yellow, kill a fella. Red on black, friend of Jack. Okay. Playing cards, huh? Okay. I like red and yellow. It looks nice together. It's a good color combination. I like green, red, yellow, and blue. Uh-huh. Well, most of you don't. They go all black and green and call themselves just the Warriors and eliminate the rainbow altogether, so there's no Ohana whatsoever, which totally pisses me off. I love the old Rainbow Warrior. They were my favorite uniforms. I used to stay up late night to watch them run the veer option with all their really good athletes that they had from California to play with the Hawaiians on defense. Yeah. They had really tough defenses. And, you couldn't talk you couldn't talk the John Elways and stuff coming out there, but you could talk the budding Turner Gills and Stanley Wilson's. Yeah, they had a lot of really good players. And they didn't have the payroll in Nebraska. And I think a lot of things is people, as a tropical black person, I always would have thought this too. I'd go to Hawaii, but you got to fly. Yeah, I don't like to fly neither. So you sit and think about it. It's like, I wouldn't like all the flying back and forth. Take your life in your hands, and Jim Croce and Big Bopper and all that every time you got to pay your bills, and it's just not worth it. Well, I think in the future, what you're gonna, you'll get people together, and you'll have club teams, and you'll have a team on Samoa, Tonga, Hilo, and they'll get together, and they'll have a nice little stadium like they have at the University of Hawaii now. They'll get together, and they'll enjoy football. And since black folks have migrated there, they will have black folks that, that have a lot of that speed and different things running in Africa, in the north part of Africa, that didn't develop as much in Hawaiians, Tongans, and wherever. But they can row. They can sure as hell row a canoe across. They can sure. It's different genetics and stuff like that. But as far as the speed and the agility that most Africans have over hundreds of thousands of years in North Africa and stuff like that, it's very difficult to replicate in a lab. It just genetically won't subsist and maintain. So it's not, the people at artificial intelligence at EA Electronic Arts, they're just Dr. Moreauing their way through this. And the more I play and look at the game that I have now, is the vicious hits and the replays of all the vicious hits, and the guy hitting you after you get into the end zone, the guy hitting you out of bounds, and there's no penalties and stuff, because it's all about the vicious hits and the vicious hits. And it's tackle football, not vicious hit football. But all those guys that aren't very good jocks want a vicious hit because they don't like the jock, because the jock made their life miserable all through school. And so you're like, what? Yeah, it's weird. And there's this weird dynamic between these video game developers and I think it's more like, Junior Barnes, the gunky with it's a lot like that. I never saw it coming, guys. I didn't know. I did not know. I couldn't explain this to you until there was an extensive virtual presence and study of brain activity through artificial general intelligence and quantum computing. I wouldn't see this. I'm not wired that way. I don't think that way. I'm not a jealous person. I'm not a vicious person. I'm not a selfish person. I don't think like those guys that took that one-eyed child killer and murdered him and thought they were administering justice. And it's like, what are you doing? That's justice? Life's eternal and grace is infinite. How do you get people to stop being incarcerated over sexual assault? And most of the guys that kill the person that did that are killing themselves because they did it, but they were not caught. Get away with it? You never get away with it. Life's eternal grace is infinite, you eternal wretched piles of shit. Okay, do you understand? But I noticed that a lot with the sex offenders at Three Springs and at NSI. And you're like, you little fucker, you've done just as bad or worse. They just got caught and you didn't, because you threatened to kill the people that you did it to. And you have other people in your gang that will kill the people that you did it to or their family if they rat out on you. The behavioral units and the sex offender units. And the bottom of the totem pole is the sex offender units. And a lot of times the sex offender units have the kids with the most humanity trying to detect people, just trying to find comfort in one another through any kind of form of sexual expression or exchange. That's why I'm in Deep Par was in the sex offender unit. And Robert and Nate Nice, and they weren't in the behavioral unit. Okay. Because they had sexual episodes that happened in all this dysfunction that were considered heinous, and they weren't. They were just kids experimenting and curious about sexuality, because life's eternal, grace is infinite, and sexuality is in us, in our DNA from the time we're born. Like Linda said, when she talked about that, Linda, my sister, it happens, and kids are like, and so you deal with it, you don't panic about it. Something happened with Mike here as a little kid's playing doctor or stuff, and they were 4 or 5, and I handled it very similar to the way that I handled things with Patrick and Danny with Michelle, and Michelle appreciated and adored me for it. There was a lot of, Michelle did the same stupid ass fucking thing to me that other women did. Yeah. They felt like I was too good of a person, and I kind of did with Jake's mom. No, with Jake's mom, it wasn't like that. It was different. It was not trying to get her into the hell that I had married into and not having her to put up with that. So she married an asshole who was a homophobe who left the marriage because his own daughter was lesbian. I understand that, and that's dysfunctional, hillbilly redneck, Nate Reynolds, Navy SEAL, have everybody fuck your wife to be top of the criminal rehabilitation unit. Yeah, okay, I got it. Fuck it. Okay, it's just hard to see. But I knew going with Jake's mom was going in the wrong direction of what I needed to do to get them overconfident and shut. Because Jesus, you don't need to know what they would have still made me and Jake's mom's life hell if we had had a relationship, and I would have adored it. I would have enjoyed it. And tell you, I am with a woman that looks like Gwyneth Paltrow, with bigger thighs and a nicer ass, and I am happy as can be and I'm not worried about being with Miriam Cologne or J Lo or Beyonce or Ella Fitzgerald's clone or Nancy Wilson's clone. I'm happy where I'm at. Yeah, and she looked like Gwyneth Paltrow. Baby, let's cruise away from me. She was a total sweetheart. She was a kind person. She was empathetic. She was intelligent. She did all she had to do in this fucked up society to take care of her kids to the best of her ability and provide a house and a home for them that was a very nice place for them to live, and all that hell in central fucking Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, a genocidal cesspool, And if I got her, it's like, hey, let's get up to Flag. Let's get the kids up to Flag and get them into a place, where it's easier, this blended family with the little, Stephanie will get mad. Yeah, she'll throw a fit, but she'll come up all the way to Flagstaff to see you. What about Patrick? She'll come up to see you and see if, and ask if you're anything like Amy. Can we all three have a time together? I know my wives. They're not perverts. They just react differently to sexual abuse than other people do. Stephanie and Amy are not perverts for liking sex with women, because most men suck and Earl doesn't, but all the bitches in the virtual presence make his life miserable unless he gets the right woman to help make his life not miserable. But then they want to join too. Instead of, I hate that bitch, I want to lay down and make love with her too, and then I'll enjoy making love with you, Ralphie. Ralphie, they both call me Ralph. Well, Steffi called me Earl, yeah, and Amy called me Ralphie. Yeah. Well, Steffi, even though they called me Ralph in the service, she knew me as Earl because I was engaged to her, Yolanda, and I was Earl, right? Where Amy called me Ralphie because she just liked calling me Ralphie. I don't know. What's it all about, Ralphie? That was just Amy's thing. But yeah, she called me Ralphie. It didn't bother me. I used to answer to "Fuck you, Parsons" with Montalvo in the service. It ain't gonna bother me none, right? Fuck you, Parsons. You wish. Dark flashing eyes. Yeah. Darker than night were the eyes of Miriam. Yeah. No, she was a good kid. She was just going through hell, and she was looking for a way out, and I wasn't her way out. Not at that time. I am now. Well, I was at that time too, but I couldn't take her through hell with me. It's hard enough doing it with Stephanie and Amy and everybody else, and I just knew, I told her, Montalvo, in order to have good friends, you got to be a good friend. And if the Lord wanted us to be together, we've both been single when we met. And I hold to that, because I am the way, the truth, and life. And the Lord talks to me because I talk for the Lord. Well, when you spit it right, you can't spit it wrong. That's why the whole world is singing this song, right? So I love you guys. 1, 2 view, 1, 2 view, 1, 2 view, because the military perverts in close proximity. Yeah, they know. Okay, guys, I love you. Peace out.